by telling you that we're at the South Plains Rehabilitation Wildlife Center. And what we're doing here today is they're going to give us a tour of the facility. You're going to get to meet some of the people involved. You need to know that this is purely based on volunteers, on the graciousness of people donating and taking care of wildlife that have a passion for this. You can have a degree in biology, you can have a degree in animal ecology. There are all kinds of things that are lately that will tell you. We're going to give you the names of some websites that you're going to be able to go to. One of them, which is this facility, and you're going to be able to go and learn everything about this. For those of you that live in this area, we invite you to call or email or see if you're interested in volunteering, making a donation. Check out the website and see what's there. There's a lot of information. For those of you that don't live here, we've also researched and found out that these facilities are all over the United States, and maybe you can find one in your area. It is extremely interesting. What do you think, Sharon?
I think it's great, and we really found out, I learned lots of new vocabulary because I didn't know what imprint was, and we've learned that Gracie here is imprinted. It means that she'll never be released out to the wild. She strictly will remain here for the rest of her life. And as you can see, I'm not going to touch her, but Daniel, which we'll meet in just a minute, touched her a little bit ago. Gracie's somewhat tame, but you need to remember these animals have been here for a long time. In wild, you don't want to touch any type of wild animal. You want to call somebody to help you take care of it so you'll know what to do. So we hope you enjoy our visit today, and we're really excited to show you what we've learned.
Okay, my name is Gail Barnes. I'm a state and federal licensed wildlife rehabilitator with South Plains Wildlife and with Night Wings, and I am the educational coordinator out here.
Can you explain to us what Night Wings is?
Night Wings is my own nonprofit.
Okay, and what exactly does it do?
Same things out here, just the overflow. I do intensive care for especially the barn owls and the great horned owl chicks when they're newborns. I take them to my house. I have incubators, and I also have colonies of bats.
And now we're going to look at the educational part. Now tell us, what exactly does the educational part do?
Well, we have a twofold mission at the Wildlife Center, for both wildlife centers, and wildlife rehabilitation and environmental education. Those are both our missions. So last year we presented over 110 environmental education programs all over the West Texas area. And that was traveling to Wichita Falls, Amarillo, Midland, Odessa, Breonna, Dimmitt, Nazareth, Amarillo.
Now how do teachers, because you do take them to classrooms?
Right.
So how do teachers get in contact with you and book programs?
Been doing this for 13 years. Most of them have my cell number. Just word of mouth. I do a lot of library programs in the small rural areas such as Denver City, Seagraves, Plains. We do the library programs here in Lubbock. We're going to do next week, we're doing Godecki and Patterson, and we've been doing them for probably 8 years every summer. We have tours. This month alone we've done probably 10 tours out here for daycare centers, individual groups that are doing summer projects. We do Boy Scout, Girl Scout badges.
Cool. So tell us who you have with you.
This is Jasper. He's a common barn owl. He's the most common owl that we have out here. Jasper is 19 years old. And in captivity, he can live to be about 25 years. In the wild, the mortality rate is much higher at a younger age.
Now, how did you get Jasper?
Jasper came in as a chick, and he's an imprint. Imprint means he's dependent on humans for his food and his shelter. If he's jessed up, these are jesses, this is a leash. If he were to get loose, he would fly up to a human wanting food, and people would actually be afraid. All birds of prey and songbirds, with the exception of the house sparrow, the starling, and pigeons, are protected under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, which means the nest, the eggs, the live bird, the feathers, and the dead bird are all federally protected. It is illegal to harm them. It is illegal to remove the nest, especially now. Right now, the barn swallows that are nesting under with the mud nest under people's eaves of houses. The federal game warden has just sent out a letter June 13th stating there's a $15,000 fine to remove a barn swallow nest.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's very interesting.
I noticed also on the website that you had some stuff about, is it chimney sweeps?
That's the same thing.
I didn't realize that.
They come in the same category as the barn swallows.
And that we shouldn't touch the nest.
No.
If we don't want them there, we should put a top over the chimney.
Right.
I just thought that was fascinating that you cannot remove it.
There's little simple things you can do that don't cost but $15 to put a top on the chimney and prevent them from getting. I get calls that people have bats in their chimney. Well, this time of year they're not bats, they're chimney swifts. Well, they're making noise, they want them out. Too bad. They have to let them fledge or fly away. Animal control will not remove them. If a pest control removes them, they are fined and the homeowner is fined.
Now, how did Jasper become dependent on humans?
We imprint, he's an imprint.
Okay. And what does imprint mean?
Imprint means he's dependent on humans for his food and his shelter. We
Okay.
got him as a tiny chick. We had him around us. We have other chicks that we rehabilitate, and they have no human contact except food put in there. Because we don't want them to recognize humans as their food source. We want them to be wild. And with barn owls and the great horned owls, I have surrogate parents, which are wild owls that cannot be released back to the wild. So I use them as surrogate parents where they raise them and I don't have to raise them, so they're wild.
And so Jasper didn't have anybody that could,
We did this on purpose.
for
training.
education. For education. Okay.
He's beautiful.
He is
Thank
His
you.
colors.
He knows he's beautiful. And he doesn't even weigh a pound. He weighs 420 grams. They have hollow bones. The owl's most important part of the owl is the facial disc, the spray of feathers that goes around his face. It acts like an antenna or a satellite dish. And the prey vibrate off of the feathers, and they can actually hear their prey before they can see their prey.
What other kind of animals do you have that you use for educational
Well,
purposes?
Carolyn has brought Lily out.
Oh, what's Lily?
Lily is a Virginia opossum,
Oh my.
and they are the only marsupials in North America, which means she has a pouch that the babies live in until they develop. When they're born naked without any fur, little tiny, and they attach to the teats, and then once they develop fur, when they're a couple of months old, they crawl out and they get on the back of the mother. But when they're born, they don't have any antibodies, so and the pouch is a sterile environment, so they're raised in the pouch.
Well, now, will Lily stay here forever?
Lily is going to be our educational possum because possums have a short lifespan of 2 to 3 years. So we always imprint a possum every couple of years. We have another one named Stitch, a male, that's going on 3 years. So we started to imprint Lily this year.
So, how did you get Lily?
Somebody brought her in.
She had been in a dogfight.
Oh, and she was
had-
a loser.
Yeah, she had wounds all over. She had stitches
Now,
all over.
possums are one of the most misunderstood animals because people trap them. They think they are vicious. They have more teeth than any mammal. They have 52 teeth, so they look sort of prehistoric. But if you don't want them in your yard, what you need to do is remove your dog and cat food, and they will go away. People, trap them all the time because they think they carry diseases, which they don't. They're very beneficial. They eat rodents, they eat insects.
And so we'll turn it over to Daniel and let him show us. I noticed a while ago he has a syringe over here that is really quite interesting. Tell us about this syringe.
On both the doves and pigeons, the parents actually produce what's called a crop milk. Now, actually, they start initially eating the seed, and then actually process and start digesting it, and then regurgitate it up to actually feed the babies. And then so they actually have to get a more specialized formula in order to mimic that as close as we can in captivity. We actually have to tube feed them and fill the syringe full of formula, and then actually literally tube feed them, and then we will actually end up progressing from that on lighter seed and stuff like that.
Okay, so what's in the formula that you feed them?
It's actually a special blend that we get. You can order it online, whatever the exact can be bird formula that actually is more designed for parrots and some of the birds like that, but it will work with pigeons and doves. And it's blended up at basically a portion to get almost the consistency of melted ice cream. Then make the close to the regurgitating and stuff like that. But that actually is the doves and pigeons will be every about 3 hours. And then some of these other songbirds, little blue jays, robins, anything that are smaller than that are in secret when they first come in are fed every 30 minutes. And then slowly we'll start feeding them more and more as they can eat on their own. They'll start actually eating more birds.
So are they all fed the same mixture?
No, they're not fed the same mixture. Most of them actually are fed a different diet than even this. This is actually only used for the doves and pigeons. We have another like 2 or 3 different diets that actually contain those type of birds. So it is a little bit more complicated. We have to keep some of the stuff out. 1 or 2 others, they take probably about 30 minutes to mix up, and they're only good for about 3 days. Yes, they're pretty good.
So there's all different kinds of birds. Can you tell us?
After it's a little bit of experience, a little bit of time and stuff, you can actually start getting to ID a little bit more of them just from look. But when they're itty bitty babies, kind of like this one, it kind of gets a little bit harder.
Oh, no, look, it's Memphis open. So has it been fed this morning?
He was been fed this morning, but he is probably just about due again. These are ones that are fed every 30 minutes, if not every more than that.
Because of their size?
Yeah, because of their size, and then just even once they start getting a little bit more of the adults, and it's a little bit more. These just came in this morning. These are actually 2 baby cardinals. They're starting to get their feathers. They're starting to do what's referred to as fledging, which is actually when they're getting close to being out on the nest. And what most people don't realize is that at the fledging stage, they cannot fly still. Most birds are actually out of the nest and they jump out and they're on the ground anywhere for 3 days, 3 to 10 days on average, while they learn how to fly, find food and shelter, and the parents are teaching them all the stuff that they need to do on their own. And so people will see them hopping around on their yards, jumping around, and they can't quite fly, but they are actually supposed to be down, and that's what they do. A lot of feathers are finishing developing, and they're building up those muscles in order to fly. And it's much less risky to be on a lower plane instead of continuing to fall out of the tree.
So is this a bird that should have been left alone?
This one actually, the entire nest was blown out, and he's still a little young. He's still got quite a bit of down and everything, so these are the ones they stay kind of close stage, and they're starting to be on their own. But he's a little young to be actually out of the nest, and the entire nest was blown out, so.
Now, does he have company in there?
There's one other sibling in with him. They're set sideways or by themselves right now in one, so we can quarantine them and kind of watch them a little bit. But it looks like they may have actually had some feather mites on them, which will easily transfer to other birds. And so we have to keep them separate until we make sure that those are cleared off because they select fleas and some of the stuff that once one kind of gets it, it's really easy for all to get it, and that's a lot more of a pain to try to clean.
Now you said they came in this morning. How are they delivered?
We actually have an 8x10 little storage building out front that has some cages and stuff in it. People will either find them in their yards or whatever, pick them up, brought them in, a shoebox or however they manage to find them, bring them in, and we'll actually ask them to fill out one little piece of paper, get us the lady where they came from. And then just randomly people will find them around their yard or out as they're wandering around. So yeah, most of the time it's...
I noticed that on the website that y'all have, and we're going to give that to our students and our club members so that they'll be able to look at it. You had lots of good information about what we should touch, what we shouldn't touch, what we should bring in.
Right, yeah, our website actually has quite a bit of stuff that is should be answered a lot of the basic questions, a lot of what normally comes up. I found this baby bird, we have a baby bird 101, and I found an animal bills, and it'll say roughly what kind of expect. But if there is any actually questions, typically, like I said, there's somebody here from dawn to dusk, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, so we don't mind trying to answer those questions. Some of them are a little bit more difficult without being able to see it. A lot of us, especially when I'm busy, don't mind if you want to bring the bird to us and have us look at it and see if we can figure anything out. It is an old wives' tale that once you touch a bird, the parents won't take it back. Most birds actually have almost no sense of smell, so they actually will take it back as long as it has not been a super long time. And you don't sit around and hover over them. That's the main reason parents want them back. And the old wives' tale is basically to keep little kids from going, "Mommy, look what I found," and not knowing where it came from or deciding to play with it when it shouldn't be played with.
So I noticed behind you have some volunteers.
Yes,
And-
and JV Mom, these are actually two of our JV volunteers. They're anybody, our normal volunteers are 18, just from liability aspects.
Okay.
But during the summer we do a junior volunteer program, which is 12, 17. The parents basically sign special waivers and liability aspects. They come in and help us eat with some like baby birds and some smaller things that a little bit less cleaning and everything, but it does free up our normal volunteers.
And they have training and things that they go
All of
through?
it, yes, all the stuff is basically done hands-on training. We show them basically what they do, and as they get older, they're more severe, or senior, and the experience out here of what to do, they get to learn more skills. And so when they first come out, no, they're not automatically dealing with animals, but
Hey,
yes.
what about the baby blue jays that are behind you?
These are actually still, right now, they're still being fed every 30 minutes. They're starting to eat on their own, so we'll start feeding them about every 30 minutes an hour, so they're not caving every time when they're opening and begging for food. Then we won't necessarily feed them every time. We still will try to feed them every time, but if they don't, if we see them eating on their own, then they'll go from the incubators over to the cages, and the cages will actually move them out to one of the other last stages for the mares, which is already here.
And so, do they get to go free after they're well or after
Ultimately,
you?
our biggest hope is no matter what animal comes in here, we can actually get it back to health and release it back to the wild. That is our ultimate goal, is to release whatever animals come in back to the wild. Which is kind of a nice little balancing act. We're trying to figure out how much attention to give them, but then while limiting that to where they don't get too used to people. We have some birds that have been here for a little while that we just released and are continuing to beg while they're flying around the property.
I read about the July 5th when you all released.
Yes, we had one of a big release actually. Depending on the weather, how it's in timing and stuff like that, we actually did have a fairly big release. Some of the birds went home a little bit longer than what we normally would have wanted to, just the weather kind of pushed on some stuff. But on July 5th, we did open the hatches and actually let a lot of birds go. So it's actually been pretty good about that.
Do you have any of the babies that you're about to feed that we could watch you feed?
Yeah, actually, all of them are just about due. The doves I pretty much have done, but all these are actually about to get fed. The itty bitty babies, again, they're little ones that are jumping out of this.
I want you to watch how far this syringe goes down into the little mouth.
These won't go down quite as far, but the doves actually will. Yeah, it's still going to go a decent amount down, but I've got one or two of the doves that's something to view too, so I'll consider that. But these are still, since they're so little, they're actually still getting a blended up diet.
So how do you know how much to give them?
You have to kind of watch. Most of the birds will have like a crop, which is actually kind of a small storage container. We want to start doing the processing and stuff like that. They don't have teeth, so they can't really grind things down. They actually have to start processing a little bit differently. And then you kind of watch the side of the neck, watch it actually fill up, and then if they can slow it down, but once they actually have this phase, then they're full for that 30 minutes or 10, depending on when they decide to process it through.
And it doesn't hurt them because I know you're probably feeding them much faster than mom and dad do.
Potentially, yes. I mean, but as long as you're being careful in general, it actually is not going to. They're actually being able to process it, and that's what we're trying to watch. You can, if you're doing it really too quickly, then you can actually flood them out so you can aspirate them, which is basically travel. Or choke them, but,
Okay. We want to, you're going to do one of the...
I'll do one of those.
Okay. Oh, those are quite big. I wouldn't have thought you would have been fed those.
These are starting to learn on them. This is actually a pigeon. This is a fledgling pigeon. You can actually tell by the feathers and stuff that are back here that still have the shafting on them. So they normally get pretty well.
Oh, wow.
Dirt road, guy sees it, gets out, picks it up, okay. He knew it wouldn't fly. When it gets to Julie, she discovers it's dehydrated. That's the only thing she can find wrong with it. She did x-rays, lungs are clear, no fractures, and it's here for whatever you can do for it.
Okay.
This is Swainson's hawk.
Daniel, there's some ice in the refrigerator.
Oh, it's pretty.
The tail feathers are worn, but I think that's from being down on the ground. I was telling Daniel about the feathers. The carrier this morning was covered, the bottom was covered with small white feathers. It could be a mauve or it could be picking at something.
Okay, the mice
Not
are
this one, the other, that's for tomorrow, so I can, there's another bag that's just unmarked. Just unmarked. Oh,
Okay, so will dehydration cause a bird not to be able to fly?
causes humans to go to the hospital.
So he's extremely dehydrated.
Well, actually, he's a pretty good weight.
Now, the
That's what we're gonna do.
person that
Weight.
received this bird in Odessa administered fluids.
Was it a vet? You said there were x-rays done, so did you take him to a vet?
Well, this is a vet tech in Odessa, works with us under our permit. And
So does Odessa have a wildlife?
no,
So you're actually working under the permit here?
I'm working under my own permits,
Okay,
federal
you
and
have your-
state.
Okay.
And then I have sub-permittees on my permits in San Angelo and Odessa. And then they funnel birds to us and we in turn evaluate and transport here.
Tell us how you got your permit.
A lot of hard work. For your federal permit, you're going to have the recommendation of at least 2 rehabbers that are already established. And 2 veterinarians have to verify that you're capable of doing the work. You have to realize you're a volunteer and that it's going to come out of your own pocket or it's going to come from people voluntarily giving you funds. But we are not federally or state funded at all. Neither is this center.
How long have you had a permit?
39 years. I started under the permit of a person in Midland who ran a sanctuary for 24 years. And during that time, I went ahead and applied for both the state and the federal. So the state, probably about close to 30 years.
So do you have to do continuing education every year to?
No, because I do not retain any birds for educational purposes.
Okay. So you're feeding the hawk
Yes,
a mouse,
a mouse.
and the mouse was dead.
Yes, it's dead. They come frozen from New York.
Oh, they do?
They're dead when they come. The only thing we feed live to is
He did get him pretty straight on. He was pretty good about taking it. Now we're acting normal.
So how what is their normal meal? How many will they eat? Because they eat all day long when they're in the wild.
That's not true.
That's not true, okay?
No, some days they may go for days without food because there is no food. And then when they find prey, they gouge. They just, you know.
If you didn't know when your next meal was, you would gouge too.
Okay, you can
And
have
a
it.
lot of their moisture is obtained through what they eat.
So has the drought in this area affected the population?
It's affected the food supply and the habitat, and we've had increased raptors, increased fawns over the years from all over the state of Texas.
Another thing that the drought is causing is water birds that are migrating. If their water sources have dried up, they're very attracted to the fracking pits around drilling sites.
And those pits contain chemicals? Or is it just,
It's not water that I'd want to drink, or you.
It's non-potable water.
Has high salt content. There are usually two pits to a well, and one pit will hold the incoming water. The other pit will hold the water that comes back from the drilling process. And it's even more dangerous because it will have oil in it, it will have chemicals, it will have fracking sand, which is kind of a silicate, it's just like glass. And it will have natural occurring things from the earth, such as arsenic.
Okay, he wants to eat it, but. Yeah.
now after you
There.
fed him and you said you gave him fluids, what is your next step with him?
Well, I'm not giving him fluids today because I've just weighed him and he weighs 750 grams. That is a good weight, and his keel is not pronounced. So with them doing the emergency triage when they got him by giving him fluids, I'm sure it was sub-Q, he's on the way to mend. He probably just needs to have a few good meals, and we need to see if he can fly, if there's any injuries. If we notice anything, we'll take him to a veterinarian and have him x-rayed. And if not, we'll hold him and give him some good meals, and we move him to a flight cage where we can see that he can actually fly and there's nothing wrong. And if he's flying and eating, we will release him back to their native habitat.
So is there a specific area that you'll release him because he came from Midland, Odessa? So we took him back to Midland, Odessa and release him, or will you release
I
him?
hope not.
We'll release him here out in the counties. There's a lot of cotton fields here, and when they plow, or there's a CRP land, when they plow, the mice come up and they love to follow behind the plows and eat the mice. So I'm going to move him, since I can't find anything immediately wrong that needs any kind of medication. If he needed medication, he'd go in a cage. I'm going to move him to what's called a mute, if y'all want to follow me. We're going to watch him for a couple of days and observe him.
Okay.
And if we notice anything unusual, he will go to a veterinarian. If not, he'll probably stay in here a week and get good meals. And then when our flight cage is vacant, he will go to the flight cage to build up flight muscles.
Now who's
Me, that's Nancy, and that's the babies right there. And they're wild barn owls that are not flighted, and they raise the chicks as their own.
Are they
will-
injured? Is
Huh?
the reason they're not flighted?
Yes,
The parents?
anything that's not flighted is injured.
Okay.
But see, they're raising the babies.
Will they raise all of yours?
Yes, they've raised probably 30, 35 this year. The trooper brought her in and said, if you cannot release her, do me a favor and name her after me. She had a soft tissue injury that never healed, so we named her Trooper. They live in our bushes all around here, and they're like a transformer owl. If you walk by, They're going to stand up straight and they're going to blend in with the stick and they're going to look like a branch or a twig.
Now, what was wrong with her when she came in?
Soft tissue injury
Okay, so
on the
soft
wing,
on the wing.
which probably damaged the tendons or the nerves, and so she cannot fly. He or she, we don't know. Probably a she.
And so she or he is part of your educational program.
Right.
Also?
All the birds in this building, Ambassador Row, are our educational birds.
Now, their main, what do they mainly eat?
They eat insects and they eat small mice and they release beetles.
Now, are these the ones, I know there is one over by the car dealerships that like to be around the lights at night. Are they probably very on the lights?
The only birds that are out, birds are out in the daytime.
Okay, so it's not nocturnal.
No. Yeah, and the birds that are nocturnal are going to be eating mice. So those are bats. Yes. Now, he came to us missing his left eye and a bunch of feathers. We don't know what happened, but he lost his left eye. We took him to the veterinarian and actually tried to save it with some drops. But anyway, it's now been absorbed in the body. So he's going to be used for education, and he's in the training process right now of learning commands like wings down. We handle him, all the volunteers handle him so he can go into the schoolrooms, civic organizations, and travel around.
Now, when you go on an educational program, do you let the kids touch the
No.
birds?
No, nobody but the handlers get to handle the birds. The children do not get to touch any wildlife. We don't want anybody getting any kind of diseases, which I'm not saying they can have or could have.
But you don't want to go through
We
the
don't.
hassle of being trained.
Yeah. Plus they're wild animals. Nobody needs to handle them but the handlers, the people that are trained and know how to handle them. But he's full grown. We hope his feathers grow back in. He's missing a whole bunch of feathers, and right now he cannot fly.
Now, when you do an educational program, do you charge? So is it a process of
Yes,
fundraising?
we are a private organization. We don't receive any funding from our regulatory agencies, so we operate off of donations, and we do charge for programs, environmental education programs. It doesn't cost as much in town as it does if I have to travel out of town. So, but they have special boxes made to travel in. They're carrying boxes so they can fit in several SUVs. And we have to have permits to do all this. When I travel, my permits go with me. And they're very plentiful here. Notice that these are the tufts or horns, they're not their ears. Again, the facial disc that goes around for their keen sense of hearing. Now, Titan was hatched from an egg. I hatched her May 10th, 2010, so she's 3 years old. The game warden brought me the eggs, and she's the only one that hatched. She was developmentally delayed. She didn't have a voice, and she didn't develop her horns or tufts, so she was over a year old. So I kept her because in the wild, nature is cruel. If I had released her, the other owls would have probably killed her. So I kept her. And she makes a wonderful education bird. And
She's beautiful.
Showing your wings, Tiny. She is actually the mascot for the new Jane Ann Miller school. And they called me and they asked me if they could use her. The kids had voted on, they had 4 choices. One was an owl, and since they picked an owl, they wanted Titan to be their mascot. So I went to the unveiling, and we were very honored. Titan means one of wisdom. Margaret Thatcher was actually a Titan, so that's who she's named after, is Margaret Thatcher. So she's a very good owl, very good for education.
Is she the one on the T-shirts that they can buy online?
That is Bubo,
Oh.
BU2. So that is who she lives with and who actually helped me raise her.
Oh.
And Boo does not, she's retired. She's 16 and she's retired. So now Titan is doing education. She's very docile. The owls are very docile. That's why I love to take them for education programs.
Daniel, who is this?
This is Bobby. Bobby's our bobcat. He's actually been here now 19 years. He came in as a kitten. The mom was hit by a car, and he was the only one that really managed, the litter that was actually still even somewhat alive. The others had passed away. He came in extremely dehydrated, malnourished, both internal and external parasites. So he was just in really bad shape. By the time they actually got him up to health where he would be physically capable of being on his own, he got a little too comfortable around people, and so he's what's referred to as his aversion of imprinting that's habituated, where he basically he's lost his fear of people, and he wouldn't worry about walking up close to them, and that doesn't normally make a good combination if we were to release him. It's one thing when you kind of know that he's there and you know what to expect, but it'd be completely different deal if you're sitting out in the country or whatever, and all of a sudden this bobcat walks within 5 feet, because it thinks that the rabbit that's on your porch is his next meal.
He looks like a giant cat.
A lot of times he acts like a little bit. He can be fairly calm, and ones that actually deal with him, me and Gail are two primary that deal with it.
So he'll be here forever.
He's a permanent resident. He's lived his entire life here. Now he's got severe arthritis in both his back and front leg.
Now, what does he eat?
He primarily eats chicken and beef heart, but we will give him like chicken legs and stuff like that. But we will every once in a while give him rabbit or something else that basically that does. If we had like a bunny that was actually like paralyzed from the back or got hit by a car or something that can't be saved, or one just happened that we had for a while and didn't make it. Their natural prey would be bunnies and some of things like that, so it's better for them. And instead of letting just the animal go to waste, we actually will recycle it and he gets a special meal with it.
But you kill it first.
Yeah, it's only the ones that actually that have not made it or
Okay.
that we've had to put down because they had some sort of, especially like one that a bunny or something or a squirrel that was hit by a car and actually had a broken back, we will actually put them down, and instead of it just basically going halfway to waste, we actually will feed it to him, and it's actually better for him too because it's more his natural diet.
And Bobby's never had a friend?
No, they're actually pretty loner. They're pretty independent. But he said some of the few volunteers that actually go with him and stuff like that will go in and mess with him. Most of the time he's pretty good, but he actually does the sign that I don't touch, I bite does actually still apply. Most things that are over here actually are referred to as rabies vectors are large mammals. By the state, by some bills they're considered a rabies vector. It does not mean that they have rabies, it just means that they're a higher risk. The statistics show basically the number of occurrences of people running into them versus the number of documented cases are a lot closer to proportion, or lower proportion, so they get deemed as a higher risk. And so for at least here, the only ones that deal with him are the Bobby, Gracie, our gray fox, and the rabies vectors are ones that already had a great exposure shots.
So you have a gray fox?
We also have a gray fox who's down at the end.
Okay, I have to ask because I so don't like reptiles. Y'all don't have any reptiles out here at all, do you?
We have some turtles.
Okay, but no
And
snakes.
Not on a regular basis. We do get them in every once in a while. We do try to treat them. But they're a little bit more difficult because most of the time people don't really like reptiles. They're really afraid of them. Some snakes are even worse. They also, most wildlife will try to hide and not show any sort of injury or any sort of handicap as long as they can. And if it really is something that's debilitating, they will try to go run off and hide until either they die or something else can find them so they don't they don't want to show weakness. That's a certain way of actually getting hunted yourself. And with reptiles, since they are or they're exothermic, they actually depend on their environment to regulate their body temp. If they actually are too badly injured and they cannot move very well, even during the middle of summer, they either look at dying from heat stroke or actually even hypothermia. Because if it drops down low enough at night and they can't actually get to a warmer spot and help regulate themselves, they will actually freeze. Same problem during the winter.
turtles, what do you do with them?
We actually have several that are in a cage, some pens over there. We will ultimately try to be able to release them to back where they came from, depending on what the injury was. Some we will try to place with special homes and one turtles and stuff that they're not ones that can be released to the wild. We have one that comes up here every day that I'm here that originally got brought into the center. It was an exotic cat that was found wandering loose and stuff. And so I actually took her in. It's an African turtle. So.
Oh, so she's at your house?
Actually, she's over in Percy's yard.
Oh, cool.
And I understand there was a Boy Scout, I was reading again online, I was reading about the Boy Scout project.
We have several Eagle Scouts and stuff that do projects and everything out here. One of them just barely finished building two turtle enclosures for us, actually, they're designed for the rehab turtles and stuff, so we can actually get them, watch them and actually get them actually out to help and make sure that they've got the soil and they can actually they're eating on their own, that whatever, if they came in with an infection or if they were missing vitamin A or vitamin D, one of the turtles that actually they really need sunlight. A lot of people do not realize that turtles and stuff are a lot more care to take care of them than you think as a pet. They have to have UV light and stuff like that. They have to have the sunlight. They have to have basically a little bit of stricter diet than what most people think. The enclosures and stuff, they're not expensive to upkeep, but the initial investment is a lot more than most people want. So you can't just put them in an aquarium and just let them sit there. They need substrate to actually dig through. They need the right lighting. They need actually have a heat source if it gets too cold. So it's actually a lot more care than what most people think. They realize actually how much investment it is at first. Just loose parts or whatever. That turtle that they don't know how to find out for. They don't know how to forage. You also don't know what they've been exposed to that the wild hasn't, and the wild has been exposed to that they don't exist typically.
Well, I just want to tell you on behalf of Sharon and Tracy and I and the Texas Tech Math Science Club, we want to thank you and Gail for being so gracious to let us come and invade this area, because this is not necessarily open to the
No,
public.
we normally are closed to the public, but we do a couple of times a year. We open up to let the public come see what we do. And it's our open house. We do one during the spring, summer, and then one during the fall, winter. We had the spring, summer one back in June, and then the fall one will be right around Christmas. Fall, winter is typically right around Christmas time. So, and we do some private tours and stuff, but those have to be set up basically like an education tour and everything will be. So.
And you are strictly funded by donations?
Donations, volunteer and donation basis, how the center runs. We apply for grants and stuff like that, but there's no city, no state, no federal funding. We all operate off the kindness of strangers.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
So,
Thank you.